Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's O.Z Bangaz. I'm here for week 5 of the Page to Stage theater program sponsored by Kuumba Lynx After School Matters and Uplift Community High School. Okay, let's do a recap of what we have learned so far. So first we learned about theater. We learned about the origins of different types of theater. We learned about Thespis and Greek theater. And since the majority of my students are of the Black and Latin diaspora, we learned about Black theater and Latin theater. We learned about poetry and the 16 types of poetry if you add in rap, because rap is just an acronym for rhythm and poetry. So we talked about sonnet and free verse and rap. And we talked about epic poems. So there's 15 styles of poetry, but I say 16 because I always add rap because it is poetry. We talked about that. We talked about ways of engaging the audience using alliteration or mimesis or assonance or consonants or enjambment or dissonance whenever you're writing or performing your poetry. We talked about the difference between a poet, a spoken word artist, a songwriter, and a rapper. And we also talked about the difference between yelling and projecting. All right? Yelling is destructive to the vocal cords, whereas projecting comes from the diaphragm and it is supported by your breath, okay? We also talked about how to use our voice to create characters whenever we're going to perform whatever we have written, okay? We talked about the head voice, the nasal voice, the throat voice, the chest voice, and the stomach voice, or the voice used and supported by the diaphragm. We went through all that, how to activate each and every area. So if you have not went through any of that, just go back to the Google Classroom or KoombaLynx.com or Kuumba Lynx's YouTube channel and just look up the previous classes for the first 4 weeks. All right, let's talk about the assignments that I have given you over the last 4 weeks that should have put you in a position to have at least 3 portfolio pieces. So the first assignment that I gave you was that you had to write a monologue talking about what you believe in, a belief that you have. You had to write it from the perspective of trying to convince the audience to take on your belief. It had to be between 1 minute and 3 minutes long. Then you had to write a poem in one of the 16 poetic styles that we discussed. Rap was one of them. Then the last assignment that I assigned was you had to write a narrative, and then you had to convert that narrative into a script. And the subject matter of the narrative had to be a conversation between 2 characters. It could have been fiction or non-fictional, but it had to be between 2 characters having a discussion or a debate about a current world argument, okay? What are these world arguments? So one of the world arguments that we talked about that's happening right now in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic is whether or not to wear a mask or not. Okay, that's a big discussion topic right now. We also talked about whether or not to defund the police or not, since we are having protests all over the world about civil rights. We also talked about whether or not police should be present in schools. And we even had a conversation about whether or not Nick Cannon's show Wild and Out should be canceled based on some viewpoints that he expressed in the media. There are plenty of other world arguments that can be discussed, but those were just some of the ones that came up. So, if you've done your assignment, you should be in position to have 3 portfolio pieces ready for our culminating event on August 15th, 2020. All right, so what are we going to be getting into this week? This week, we are going to be talking about how to prepare for your virtual performances of your portfolio pieces. Again, the monologue, the poem, or the narrative, okay? We're going to talk about lighting, we're going to review voice work, and we're going to talk about setting and background and how to actually perform it, okay? So let's jump right into it. All right, so since we are mandated to be physically or socially separated due to COVID-19, Our performance for our culminating event is going to be virtual, which means that you are probably going to have to film yourself performing your work in order to present it. So this video is geared to help you prepare to do just that. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is backgrounds. What should your background look like for your performance? What should your lighting look like for your performance? What I would recommend is this. Find a background that is plain. Just a plain white wall, or a wall that is a solid color in your house, if possible. If you want to go outside, you can. I would say that is up to you. Use your discretion. If you have to get parental permission to do so, then do it. But I think you can film this inside your house with just a blank wall behind you, no matter what color it is. If it's solid, I think that will be good. If it has a pattern or pictures or photographs or something else behind it, I would say ask yourself, does that really work for your scene or the message in your piece? If it does, fine. If it doesn't, just think about that. You know what I mean? You don't want to be talking about chickens and you have bats in your background. That's just an example. It might throw some people off. So in most cases, again, solid color walls might work. But if you have some imagery in the background and you want to get creative and it works for your piece, then by all means, go for it. If you're creative and you're more experienced and you have a green screen and you're able to do that and create your own backgrounds, then I don't want to hold you back. By all means, go for it. But on the most basic level, all you need is a simple background. So for instance, in back of me, I have a black curtain. I do a lot of photography, so I have a whole rig. I have basically some poles and rods that I'm able to hang what's called Muslim from, which is basically just a fancy word for fabric. So I have my stand and my rig up behind me, and it's basically hanging a black curtain. You can also do that if you don't have a solid wall. You might be able to take a sheet or some fabric and just prop it up on the wall somehow. Don't put any holes in your walls, all right? But if you can hang it from the ceiling, if you could tape it, if you could clip it onto something, maybe you could hang a sheet over a door and have the door behind you. That sometimes works, okay? Whatever gets the job done, that'll be fine. I don't want you to necessarily go and have to spend any money to produce these videos. The information that I'm giving you is going to be so that you can produce it easily, hopefully, and free, meaning you don't have to spend any money, okay? Okay, so now let's talk about lighting, okay? Because that might help to set the tone, to set the mood for whatever you're gonna be presenting to your audience. You might wanna get dramatic, okay? So before we talked about backgrounds, I chose a black curtain because when it comes to theater, it's traditional, okay? And now even in this video, this very video, the effect that I am using is what's called a key light or a subject light effect. So behind my camera, I have this little lamp that is basically giving off light in the direction that lights my face, okay? And that is called key light or subject lighting because it is making sure that I, as the key individual in this video, is well lit, or I, as the subject in this video that is being filmed, is well lit. Hopefully you see that I am illuminated in comparison to everything else around me. That's key lighting, okay? Now, in a moment, I'm going to snap my fingers and then I'm going to give you an example of what environmental light is, or what field light is, okay? 1, 2, ready, and all right. So this is field light. The room that I'm in, I walked in, I turned on a light switch, and the overhead light is on. The overhead light is filling the environment with light. It's filling this room with light, but it's not doing that good of a job of basically filling my face with light, right? I mean, you guys can see me, but in comparison to the other shot, you see my face, but you see the environment and everything, okay? So this is fill light. Now you can combine fill light and subject light. For instance, if I turn on this, okay, boom. So now both the overhead, which is the fill light, and the key light or the subject lighting is also on, okay? So you see my face a little better. That's the difference. I'm going to turn off the key light right now and show you what I'm using, okay? Just so you have an idea. Okay, so basically I have this pretty much lamp that's just sitting behind my camera. Give me one moment, let me put it back. All right, so I had that lamp and it's just sitting behind my camera, but the way that it gives off light, because it's kind of at face level, but it's sitting behind my camera, that light shines directly on my face, allowing me to be lit as the subject or as the key figure, okay? So now you've had an example of fill light and key light, and fill and key light combined. If you want to learn more about that and you want to see more examples, I will have links to examples of key lighting or subject lighting, fill lighting or environment lighting, as well as what's called backlighting. You get some really cool effects if you combine all three: backlighting, key lighting, and fill lighting. At this particular time, I'm gonna go back to just the key lighting because I like that. So when I snap my finger, we're gonna go back to my original lighting style. Ready? And 5, 4, 3, 2. So now that you've done your emotional mapping or your emotional journey through your writing piece, now that you've practiced saying it in the mirror, you know all the words, you're not gonna get tongue-tied, and it's memorized. So now you're going to set up your background, set up your lighting, and you're gonna perform your pieces. And as you're performing your pieces, what you're gonna do is you're going to decide which vocal techniques you're gonna use to basically captivate your audience, okay? So now the first thing is you wanna elevate your energy. So if you're the type of person that kind of talks like this, and you're more laid back, unless that's a part of your character, that's not gonna work for camera. Usually the rule for the camera is you amplify who you are and what you're saying so that it comes across and it keeps the audience engaged. Does that make sense? But if it is appropriate for your character to kind of be like this, maybe they're tired or they're sleepy or they're confused, that's totally appropriate for you to do that. But otherwise, try to engage your audience, okay? All right, and I'm gonna give you some examples. Okay, assignment number 1 was a monologue where you talked about something that you believe in, okay? A theory or philosophy, something you believe in. That was the only thing that you had to write. So I'm going to make these examples ultra brief, okay? All right, I'm gonna say scene and then I'm just gonna jump into it. So here's my example of performing a monologue about something I believe in. In this case, my scene is gonna be about, I believe that if you don't vote, you shouldn't complain, okay? Scene. What did you say? What'd you say? Hold on, wait a minute. Before you go on, let me ask you this, all right? You're complaining about how everything is, about how the minimum wage is, about climate change, but let me ask you this. Did you vote last election? Why are you looking down? No. This is very serious. Did you vote last election? Because if I recall, you didn't vote. And so I hear you complain every single day about what's right and what's wrong, you know? But when you had your chance to do something about it, you sat back. You could have voted for state's attorney. You could have voted some judges in and out. You could have voted for alderman, congressman, senator, not just the president, but you chose not to vote. You said it didn't matter. You said that it was rigged, that your voice didn't matter. But if your voice doesn't matter, then how come they're doing so many things to stop you? So I'm sorry. You're my boy, but I cannot listen to you. I don't want to hear your complaints if you're not going to vote to make a difference. Scene. Okay? So, notice that I wasn't like, I don't want to hear your complaints if you're not going to vote. All right? I put some energy in my body. I elevated my voice. Right now, I'm talking kind of through nasal throat voice. All right? Remember we talked about the different activations. Stomach voice. It's kind of here. All right? I'm talking through my stomach. I raise it up and I'll talk through my chest. I can be here and talk to my throat. Well, I can get right here and get real nasally in it. Or I can go to my head voice and talk like that. Okay? So those are the different activations that we talked about. And I know that probably sounded crazy. I'm not crazy. It's just acting techniques. Blame it on the theater school. All right? So with that being said, okay, I want you to apply those techniques that we talked about to bring your characters and bring your subject matters to life. Okay? Okay, example number 2, I asked you guys to write poetry. So this is how you might present it. So again, I think if you're memorized, you'll feel a lot better and feel a lot more in control of what you do. And you won't have to do this. Roses are red and violets are blue. And I just want you to know that I think that you're super cool. Okay. All right. No, I want you, again, amplify your voice, amplify your energy, and even if you go on the low end, it will be amplified. Use your energy to take us as the audience on a roller coaster. So I'm going to give you 2 examples because I know some of you might do haikus, okay, and they're really short. So I'm just going to give you 2 examples of how to re-say that poem that I just said with a little bit of energy. All right, so you want to think about pacing, how fast or slow you're going to go, dynamics, how loud or soft you're going to go throughout the poem, okay? Those are the type of things that are going to help you. Here we go. And sing. Roses are red and violets are blue, and I want you to know that I think you're super cool. Example 2. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I want you to know that you, yes you, are super cool. Even if I go low, I can make it real interesting. Hey, roses are red and violets are blue. I want you to know that. Hey, I think that you're super cool. All right, cool. So those are like 3 examples of how you can use all the tricks that we talked about: alliteration, consonants, assonance, energy, dynamics, pacing or metering. Use all those tricks to make it engaging, okay? Opposed to, again, roses are red, violets are blue. I want you to know that you're super cool. Okay, yeah, we're done. All right, don't do that. Make it a performance. Okay, so the very last assignment that I asked you to do was to write a narrative and convert it to a script. And the subject matter had to be 2 or more characters having a debate about a world argument that's going on. For the time being and for the sake, it's going to be ultra short just because I just want to give you an example of what you can do. It's going to be about whether or not to wear a mask, okay? You can totally play all the characters if you want to. If you think you have the chops to do that, I encourage you, try it out. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to play 2 different characters, and I'm going to switch my hat to let you know that I'm a different character. And you can do that. You can switch one item You can change shirts for each shot. So if you wanted to do that, how exactly would you do that? You can have someone talking off screen to you. One of the things that I do is I would record the entire play, like on my phone, record it, and then play it back if I'm gonna do it by myself. And so lines for character A, I say, the recording comes back. For character B, I wait, I pause, and then when it's time for character A to say my lines, I say it, and then I go and I do the exact same thing. Okay, then I switch and I'm character B. I say my lines for character B, character A talks, I'm not talking. I say my lines for character B, character A talks, character B, character A, and so on. And what you'll see in this example is one of my characters with one of these hats is going to be facing that way, and the other character is going to be facing that way. And I'm also going to use two different voices so that you know that it's two different characters. Because if I was just talking like this for one character, and then the next character I was talking like this, well, then there's not that much diversity there, and people might not get that you're playing two different characters, okay? So with that being said, I'm gonna give you an example of how I would go about playing two different characters. Here we go. Excuse me, sir, I don't mean to interrupt you. How are you doing? Are you having a good day? That's good to hear. All right, so listen up. I don't mean to be rude, but I just want to. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hi, sir, how are you doing today? I hope your day is going so well. I don't mean to be rude, but I just noticed that you didn't have a mask, and per our store policy, it is my job to inform you that if you don't have a mask, we might have to ask you to leave. We have a mask that you can purchase for $1 if you want, but other than that, just for the safety of everyone else, we have to ask you to put on your mask. So now, let me get this straight. I come to this store for the last 35 years. And you gonna tell me that since I don't want to be controlled by the government, that since I'm a free thinker, you telling me that I can't come in this store? This store that I've been coming in, that I've been patronizing for the last 35 years, when I could have went to 100 other stores, but I come to this store, I give my money to this store. But because I don't want to wear a mask, because I can't breathe in it, because it fog up my glasses, alright? And I know I don't got my glasses on right now, but I wear them. But for those reasons, I don't want to wear a mask. You telling me that I gotta leave if I don't put on that mask? Unfortunately, yes, sir. I completely understand. A lot of people say that they can't breathe and that it fogs up their glasses. I wear glasses sometimes too, and it has definitely done that. When I'm driving in the car, I wear sunglasses, and it definitely has done that. Sometimes if you pull the glasses a little further from your face, the air goes up past the glasses and it doesn't fog them up. I hope that helps, but in terms of our store policies, yes, if you are unwilling to wear a mask, unfortunately, we're going to have to ask you to leave. It's just for the safety of the public. It's for your safety too. Now, I told you, I've been coming here for 35 years now. I already give you enough for my money. I ain't finna give you no dollar for no mask. But I need some things, and I don't feel like going to the store, my mask in the car. I just didn't feel like going out there and get it. So, I guess I'll be back with my mask. All right, there's an example of how you could possibly present your narrative that you will convert into a script. I did kind of a one-man show playing two characters. I switched my hat. That was the wardrobe that I switched to show the different characters. I changed my voice. I changed the direction that I was looking. So, I changed the direction that I was looking in so that you could get the idea that they're two different characters. I made references to age and history so that you get an idea of who's older, who's younger, who has more status, who has less status. And all those things, I made sure that that it was in the writing when I did my emotional mapping and my emotional journey of the writing. So I hope that makes sense to you. If you do it with more than one person, it becomes a little easier. You just film the person saying their lines. I would say this is a great opportunity to involve your family and have it be a family project. You could have your little brother film you and your father having the debate, or you and your mom, or your mom could film you and your siblings having the debate, and all they have to do is point to person A when person A talks, point to person B when person B talks, and then you can put it all together, okay? Or you could do the one-man show like I did, but experiment, have fun, find out what works for you. Okay, let's talk about video software. What are you gonna use to edit these performances, okay? So some people have asked me, hey, OZ, what do you use? So I am an Adobe person, meaning I use Adobe products like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Premiere, which is video editing software. So that's what I use. I'm not exactly sure on the rates. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but I do this professionally, so it's worth the investment for me. For my students, you may want to basically use a free software. So for instance, if you have an iPhone, I know that iMovie is free. I know Adobe has a product called Adobe Rush, which is for editing video for social media. There is a free version. You do have to pay for certain things to unlock it. You have to pay money to unlock certain things on the app. But I would say look up what's called free source, okay? Free source software. This is software that is free. All you have to do is download it. You don't have to pay a penny for it. Some of them might have features that you have to pay to unlock, but for the most part, you could do the basic stuff for free without having to pay stuff. If you want, and you want to only pay for the service for the week or the month that you're gonna use it, like if you're only gonna use it for this product, if you're only gonna use it to do this project, and you can afford it, or your parents are willing to, some of these apps are between $9 and $30 for the month, okay? So maybe you want to invest in that. It's not necessary. I do not want you to necessarily go and pay for anything. I'm giving you all these suggestions so that you can do this for free. Also, some software have a 30-day trial or a 14-day trial. So if you can get your project done within those 14 days or those 30 days or whatever the free trial is, then get the free trial, do your project, and then cancel it. Don't tell nobody I told you that. All right, okay? But seriously, I don't want you to have to spend any money necessarily to do this project. Don't go and buy any elaborate outfits unless it's what you want to do and you can afford it. But otherwise, what you have in your closet is fine, okay? This is meant to be fun. I do not want it to necessarily be stressful, okay? But I do want you to get creative. Think about what's going to really make this dynamic and stand out, okay? And with that being said, that is the end of week 5 tutorial. You guys have my information. Email me if you have any questions or if you get stuck, and I'll be happy to walk you through it. And with that being said, this is the end of the week 5 video tutorial. I will put some other links to resources about lighting, about performing, about activating your voices. Just check the Google Classroom or check your emails. And with that being said, this is the end of week 5 Page to Stage Theater Program hosted by O.Z Bangaz. This video is sponsored by Kuumba Lynx After School Matters, Uplift Community High School, and Sustainable Community Schools. Peace.